This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
There are people out there who are charged to take care of us in our times of need, to run to our assistance when there is no one else to call, looking up on our worst day and seeing someone capable of help. But those that help often do so at the detriment of their soul, wrestling with seeing the things that should not be seen by human eyes, bearing witness to the inhumanity that is perpetrated on a fellow human being. They take those incidents and internalize them, digesting them in the most unhealthy of manners. While the saviors are very good at saving the hurt, their capacity for self-protection is often poor. Spending your life taking care of others can result in not being able to take care of yourself. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Falaise, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor. Hit that like button like Tom Flynn's on your back and you're in the Blue Oyster Bar. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And, of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to. Tonight, we have a very, 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 very special guest, one of my brand new friends, Stephanie Niemiec, to talk about the suffering of a paramedic. We've done EMS. We've done all these different things. We've never done a paramedic, and you take it to the next level. You've been doing it for a very long time, so thank you so much for coming in. Tom Flynn is joining us this evening, just to add a little bit of, and we need some lighting back here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's good. It's good to get backlighting.
Stephanie, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, you haven't really seen how we do things yet, so we'll save that judgment for later. Before we get into anything else, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as podcasters, and we certainly don't trust anybody as retired police officers, but we do trust the boys over at Toyota Hackensack. So do me a favor. Go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car, but make sure you tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So, Stephanie, each week, I know you watched a couple episodes. Mm-hmm. We take a question from our audience. This week's question, and it was one that I pulled because there's a strange backstory. The handle is Finger 11. Tell me the song. Paralyzed. Come on. Paralyzed.
Man,
2007, they never stopped playing it on DHA.
All right.
And Finger 11 writes, what's the most important lesson that you took from a past relationship? We've all had them. We're all north of 50 now. So if you tell me you're one and done, you're lying. So what do you think you've learned from your last relationship or from a past relationship?
What have I learned? I don't think I could pick one thing, but I would have to say probably loyalty.
The lack of it or the need for it?
Both. And a lot of ownership on my part to be more loyal, and to not quit.
Yeah, well, they make it so easy these days to quit. Mm-hmm. There's divorce attorneys get divorced now. It went up. It used to be $3.99. I think now it's $4.99 because I saw the sign.
If you agree.
If you agree. There's only one person I've ever seen there are two people that I've seen do that. Well, he's one of them. I'm
a two-time loser, though, so I don't count.
Always looking for the next ex-Mrs. Flynn. That's what we do. But that's important, right? So we need to feel safe. We need to feel comfortable with whoever we choose to let into that little portion of our lives because, intimacy, the one I always like is Into Me I See. That's from the Love Guru.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's true. When you give somebody your heart, they have total control over that heart to either protect it or to break it.
Yes.
Tom, what do you think? So give us your multitude of experience on this.
It's not going to be short, right?
No.
Like, I got to give you a little backstory. So in a world of ambiguity, right, which we live, there are a lot of things, a lot of gray areas. I will tell you one thing I learned from a past relationship. And I'll give you a little movie reference because I know you're a movie buff. So I'm going to give you the film. I'm going to give you the actors. It's Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep. And there is a scene from this movie.
You lost me in Meryl Streep.
Come on, there's Clint Eastwood in it. So it's not a chick flick, right? So
it's got Meryl Streep in it, and no.
No, come on, listen.
She's from Montclair. Stop it.
Yeah, ride this one out with me. I'm telling you, it'll be worth it at the end. So in this film, Clint Eastwood is in his truck, and Meryl Streep is sitting in her truck, and it's in the pouring rain. And Clint Eastwood stands there, goes over to Meryl Streep, which is obviously the love of his life, and they make eye contact. And Meryl Streep sits and watches Clint Eastwood walk away. And during this film clip, Meryl Streep reaches down and grabs the door to jump out of the relationship that she's in into the love of her life. And it's like a heartbreaking moment because the truck just drives away, and it shows you the ambiguity of choices and then what road you go down. For me, for my past relationship, I should have opened the door and got out.
You can look at it that way, right? But there is also going to be something that compels you to open that door. Okay, and if you're not compelled enough to open that door, because that's you just described life in general. Life is all a bunch of choices, and am I going to make the right choice? Am I going to make the wrong choice? When you put some sort of faith in your heart, in your gut feeling, those choices are already made, and they'll happen when they're supposed to happen. So while I appreciate that and I like that, I will respectfully disagree where it's just not right. It's just not right. When it's right, and you know. I think the thing I learned most from past relationships, you spend a lot of time trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Everybody will say this about every relationship they had in the past. There's always red flags. There's always red flags. I've learned that when people show you who they are, believe them. Don't think that they're going to change. Don't think you can change them. Don't think that this is a bumpy thing, because there's hard stops in relationships, right? There's things that you look over. We had this conversation last week with Dr. Courtney Evans.
Yeah.
Toilet paper being under the roll pisses me off more than anything. But is it a deal breaker? Of course it's not a deal breaker. There's those hard stops, but along the way, and hindsight is 2020, you will see signs. You will see things popping out, and then when things go wrong, you'll be like, oh, here, oh, here, oh, here.
Yeah.
Now, when somebody shows you who they are, and I use this in all different walks of life, whether it's friendship, relationship, or, obviously I've been married for long enough where that's it. I'm done. I will believe you when you show me who you are, good or bad. So, Finger 11, thank you so much for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. Do you like that little reference I did when you hit the like button?
Yeah.
That's a little Easter egg, because people now got to research what the Blue Oyster Bar is.
They also have to research what the movie is. You don't know, do you?
Oh, what, me?
Yeah.
Of course I know what the movie is. Yeah, of course I know what the movie is.
No, the movie I was talking about.
I don't
Bridges
watch...
of Madison County.
Yes.
So, oh my God, Tom. Jesus, Tom.
He just admitted that.
Oh, Tom, you don't admit that.
But you knew it.
Of course I did.
I won an Oscar or something like that, or it was up for.
It's Clint Eastwood.
It's
Come
Clint
on,
Eastwood.
can we go with the Clint Eastwood version?
No, because it's got Meryl Streep in it. I'm sorry. You just know. Give me your man card. Give it.
I have never been more certain about anything in my life.
That you're a man?
Yes.
After what you just told me, I doubt now. So we're not here to talk about your lack of manliness. We're here to talk about the suffering of a paramedic.
For sure.
Okay, so as police officers, our godsend was when you showed up on scene, because we're sweating. We don't really know what we're doing. We kind of act like we know what we're doing, but when you're on scene, it's like an angel to us. So it was an important topic that I wanted to come in here and I wanted to talk about, because you've been doing it for how long?
25 years.
25 years. Wow.
That's all?
25 years.
So you got into it when you were 18, is what you're telling me.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Very good.
Absolutely.
It's a thankless job, except the police officers, because we're overly grateful that you're there.
Yeah.
But
Were you grateful when I showed up?
Absolutely.
We used to work together.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom,
That's a trauma story in and of itself.
Tom did your reports, didn't he?
Yeah.
See? So, Stephanie, what I want to do is I want you to talk to us a little bit how you grew up, where you grew up. What was your childhood like?
I grew up in half of my childhood from West Caldwell. And then I moved from West Caldwell to Fairfield when I was 12. Went to West Essex High School, graduated from there. I was a cheerleader in high school. Went off to college. Did 4 years in college. Didn't graduate. Left. And said, uh-oh, now what? My whole family was in medicine, so I decided to take a CPR class. Had a lot of death in my family, a lot of tragedy. Lost my cousin, lost my uncle, lost my grandmother, lost my mom.
No, just regular deaths or tragedy? Like,
My cousin, who was 17, was in a bad car accident. And she lived for 3 days and then unfortunately succumbed to her injuries. My mother was a nurse, so our whole family was in medicine. And I just liked, my dad was in radiology and grew up around that. So I decided, let me take a CPR class. I had started to study psychology in college. And then I had something that happened to me in college where I had to leave. And
did you get kicked out?
Sort of.
You got thrown
Something
off campus.
Sort of.
You got thrown off campus.
I failed out.
Nice.
I failed out.
Nice. Did you go down swinging, or did you just?
Well, you know, when
or did you just stop steering?
I started out doing really, really well, Dean's List, and then as the years went on, and as the sorority partying went on, just didn't do well.
Yeah. So I got kicked off campus. So I got kicked. I graduated. But I got kicked off campus because I had too much free time, and you know those big spools of cable that. They were running fiber optics or something, so it was big wooden spools of cable.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I went to FDU, and I saw that you went to FDU
Yes.
in Madison.
Yes,
Did you go in Madison?
I did.
What was your sorority?
I did. D-Phi-E.
D-Phi-E.
Oh no. Am I going to find something
You weren't a
out
teak,
here?
were you?
No, I would have
Okay.
been. I was a football
Teaks or
player,
geeks?
so I would have been a Sigma Chi if I
Oh.
did. But I rushed, and then I'm like, why would I pigeonhole myself into one sorority when I can go to parties from everybody?
Yeah.
That's what I did.
It was a party campus.
I lived in Building 8, so I was in the neutral building. Building 6 was Sigma Chi. D-Phi-E was like Building
I think we were 5.
5, yeah. See how I know that?
Yeah.
Wow. I just pulled that out of who knows where. Wow.
So back towards, for those people, I know we're talking in specifics here, but Fairleigh Dickinson sits on top of a mountain.
Yeah.
And I took one of those big spools, and I thought it would be funny to roll it down the hill to see how far I can go towards Park Avenue. As it's rolling down the hill, I see a security Jeep coming up, and I'm like, I already know how this is going to end.
Oh, boy.
Hits the security Jeep. We go running. I was with a couple people. They got caught. I didn't. And by default, I was caught. I did a lot of community service, though. I really did. I did a lot of community service.
I'm going to say worth it in the end.
Yeah, you know,
Little
listen,
bit.
you get to do that. It's kind of like, you know, have you ever been driving down the road and you're doing 70 miles an hour and you just want to see what happens when you slam it in reverse?
Yeah.
You know it's not a good idea and you know it's not going to end well, but you do it anyway.
No, because I take care of people like you that do that, so I don't do it. Oh, no.
But in reality, you know, college is a good testing ground. So the fact that you failed out, don't wear it as a thing. Like you seem like you're a little shameful from it.
I was, but I went back.
Yeah. But
I
don't
was.
take it as a badge of honor because it just wasn't your time.
Yeah.
No, it was not.
You know, you were supposed to open the door, but you didn't.
See how he did that?
Yeah, see how it was a nice
He's
throwback.
crafty. He
Yeah,
brings
he
it
is.
right around.
He is. I get it.
It's
I
a
get
nice throwback, but you just weren't ready at that particular time.
No,
You had to find your way.
I wasn't. And there were circumstances in my life that were happening that you're right, it just wasn't the right time for me.
Just a quick question. What years did you go to Fairleigh?
1992 to 1996.
Oh, no. Please don't tell me.
What was your maiden name?
Scarano.
Yep.
Oh, you're rotten.
Yep.
You're rotten.
I was there at the same time. I was there 92 to 97.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember the keg tossing contest?
Of course.
I threw the keg the furthest for D-Phi-E. Nobody could beat me. Nobody could beat me.
Rosemary. What's Rosemary's last name? I see her. She's D-Phi-E.
I heard she had a baby.
Well, my cousin TJ, actually Frank, who I told you is chief of Fish and Game for New Jersey, he married my friend Roseanne, who's D-Phi-E. We were sorority sisters.
I'll bet you that's the same one that lives in Parsippany now.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's small world.
Yeah.
Small world. Yes, we were together at Fairleigh Dickinson at the same time.
Small world.
It's a very, very small world. But
Curse you, Kevin Donaldson.
yeah, don't ever touch the big rock in front of the mansion. Just don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Mansion. Wow.
Yeah. So, but it just wasn't your right time, and you had to go out and find your way. How long? So you go and take this CPR class. How long till you finally return to college?
I did not go back to school until 2014,
That's a long gap.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I met my ex-husband when I took a CPR class and I met a paramedic. And that's what I learned what paramedic was about. I knew what nursing was. I knew what being a doctor was. I had no idea what being a paramedic was about. I just thought, oh, you get to be on an ambulance. That's really cool. And then I took a CPR class at Wayne General Hospital, met a paramedic there. And from there is history. I met my ex-husband, Chris, who was in Cedar Grove.
Oh, just a little backstory. I do know her ex-husband, too. I didn't know her, but I know her ex-husband. He happens to be part of my union local.
Most people know.
Yeah.
Most people know Chris.
Yeah, so it's a real tangled web. But what was it that drew you to? I know your parents were both involved in the medical field in one form or another, but what was it that drew you? Like a CPR class is not the most sexy thing in the world. What was it that drew you into that?
I just want to help. I mean, my mom was the most amazing woman on this planet. She's no longer here. She died, but just her ability to help and walk into a room and know what somebody needs. I grew up with that. And so I just want to do that. And paramedicine, you walk into a room, you walk anywhere, and you have to start taking care of things. And she always took care of things and took care of people, and that's what I wanted to do. And so that's why I got into it.
So it seems like you have an assertive personality. You know, I've been around you for a couple days, and you have an assertive personality, and I think it's something that lends itself to being in that field, because when you show up, number one, when you show up, shit's hitting the fan. Okay, you don't show up for somebody who stubbed their toe or has a bad cough.
No.
Stuff's going wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, police officers have to do the same thing. We show up at a scene, and we may not know what to do, but we have to try to figure it out on the fly, and we have to have the authority to whoever's in front of us. They have to believe us, just like you. They have to believe that you know what you're doing. And I'm sure you've seen shit. You're like, what the hell am I going to do here? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Well, that's what I tell my students. It's interesting because I tell them, you know, when you walk into a room, you have to gain somebody's trust in the first 10 seconds that you walk in there. And so how do you want to present yourself when you walk in? Do you want to have your shirt out? Do you want to have your shirt in? Do you want to have your boots shined? Do you want to smile? How are you going to greet people on their worst day? Because that's really why you're there.
It's a bit of discipline. Like, it's almost stealing a page out of the police book a little bit. Like, you got to have that, what we call command presence,
well,
right?
Who do you want showing up to take care of your loved one?
Yeah.
Who do you want showing up? And so, you know, you have to, yes, command a presence. And I tell everybody, I think Monday morning quarterbacking is probably something that I've learned not to do, but retrospection, I think, is really good.
Well, you inevitably make mistakes, and I'm not talking mistakes that cost lives. I'm like, you should have done this and you did this. If you don't take that information after action and learn from it, you're going to keep repeating the same mistake. So you have to go through that stuff.
So I tell my students now, look the part, even if you don't know, fake it till you make it. And I just say to people now, don't lie. Just tell them the truth. I don't know the perfect words. I don't know what's wrong with you, but I'm going to get you to the hospital, and I'm going to do my best to get you there as safely as I can. Because I don't lie to people anymore.
Yeah, that's a reassuring way to do it.
The one thing that I've noticed about paramedics and EMTs in general, they are so good at taking care of it. Like the vast majority of them, especially the ones that I worked with, they're so good at taking care of other people. They are absolutely horrible at taking care of themselves. They're overweight, and I get it. It used to be that way with cops. Like cops later in their career became a little fluffy.
It's a good way to put it.
You know, and you don't look the part anymore. That you lose some sort of respect from that first meeting. But I noticed this in the medical field, in the emergency medical field. Man, they're bad at taking care of themselves. They really are. They'll smoke. You can smell it on them. They'll eat unhealthy unless, you know, salads did that to them.
Why do you think that is?
They're not focusing on themselves.
I would agree.
And the one thing I realized is you can't help anybody if you show up to a scene all jacked up. You can't.
I think that undermines the confidence a little bit. A little. You know?
There's a roller coaster effect to this business, right? And your adrenaline is like a 50 by the time you get to the job, and then when you get to the job, it's not what you thought it was going to be, so you come back down. And then you go to the next job, and then you come back down. And so paramedics are doing that all the time. And
Screws
so,
with your nervous system.
Yeah.
well, yeah, and then
Adrenaline pumps and
they
dumps.
want to eat because it's comfort, or they want to smoke, or they want to drink because they just had this. And so those are the vices that they use. They don't use healthy vices because of the roller coaster of the critical stress that they go through.
And I'm not knocking these people, because these people, to me, are true saviors and true angels, and thankfully we have them. I'm not knocking them, but I noticed this over time where you'll see people show up, and I know some nurses are the same way, and they're showing up like, damn, like what are you doing to yourself here?
Yeah.
And you know, if you come into a patient who's in you're reeking of cigarettes, and they're going to smell that too. It's going to lower their confidence. You know, I'm sure some patients are going to come, oh shit, and they're like, what's coming in the door?
It's a product of our profession, unfortunately. We need to have better representation. We really do. We're finally licensed in New Jersey. We're no longer certified, which I think will help our profession. But again, we're that lost part of EMS. People don't know what a paramedic is. Even in the hospital, they don't. They think we're ambulance drivers, and we're not. We're not.
That's like the biggest of all digs, thinking that you're an ambulance driver,
Right.
right? Like they're already at the tail end, I guess, of like the emergency system, right?
Well,
It's always police, fire, EMS.
They're
right?
second responders most of the time. Not
Yes.
always. They're second responders are seen safe. You go in there and you do your magic.
Mm-hmm.
But is this so? You're in instruction now, also, correct?
I'm a full-time clinical coordinator for Bergen Community College for the paramedic program.
So is this something? Is this a module where self-care? You know, is this a module that's being worked in there? Because I've seen it so much that it's an issue.
Yes.
All right. Is this something that's actively being talked about as being taught, or is it currently taught? I don't know. Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Alsop. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryalsop.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
We have an actual module that we teach, a resiliency module. We do NATAL training, N-A-T-A-L. We also do mental health first aid training. And then we do just debrief all the time. Whenever the students need it, we are each other's therapists. We always have resources if they need them, but we teach resiliency in our class on a daily basis.
So what happens if you go in and you tell, do you actually have critical incident stress management teams that come out and help?
We have teams that come in to teach the mental health first aid and the NATAL training.
So if I was a medic and I saw something rotten and I'm having some issues with it, will they actively go tell somebody other than their peers?
Depending on the hospital system that you work for, each hospital system has their own team set up for that.
Is there, because in law enforcement, it's a huge stigma, and that's where this is the direction I'm going.
And confidentiality.
You know, we won't talk to anybody because we're afraid of getting our gun pulled.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it the same with you where if you go talk to somebody, is there any fear of any retribution?
I'll tell you, it's interesting. It used to be that way when I first started. And now I believe with the generation post-COVID, they're very focused on their mental health. But the age range of, 40 to our age range, we're not so open to asking
What's this
for help.
R stuff? I'm 25.
Yeah. I don't know.
Don't mix me with
These
these
younger
people.
kids, they love their feelings. Us,
Yeah.
we don't love our feelings so much. But there's a safer space for us now. But it's starting to come together. It's not where it needs to be. I do think that in law enforcement, you guys have much better systems and processes set up.
It's not. Yeah, it's we there's a lot of resources out there, but there's a big problem with it. It's a huge problem with it. Like the resiliency project for police officers. The problem is it's a appointed position, appointed by the chief. He's not going to appoint somebody who's on the B team. And so you're going to be hesitant. If you're on the B team and somebody's on the A team, you're going to be hesitant to talk to them because you know it could possibly get up the chain, and now you're screwed.
Plus, I think you need people with shared experience.
Yep.
You know, I can't talk to anybody about a police shooting unless you had one. But if you had one, I can talk to you about it because you're going to understand some of the stuff that I'll talk to anybody now. So it's different.
But relatable, really. Like there's not that relation to connection.
Well, just think about sending a paramedic or a police officer to a therapist for the first time, and the paramedic sits down and says, you know, yesterday I had a hanging, and then I had a 3-year-old drowning, and then I had to tell a 70-year-old woman that her husband of 35 years is dead, and I don't know what to do with that. And the therapist sits back and says, all in one day?
Yeah.
And then the paramedic says, yeah, but that was just Monday.
Yeah.
And therapists are not
They're
ready
not
for that.
They're not equipped for
No.
So we need more people in the business like us.
Is there a sect of the therapist population that either are active emergency medical personnel? Because
There's not a lot
there's
of
a
them.
ton of cops going into the therapy field. There's a ton of them, and it's a great concept because now all of a sudden somebody who did the job I did, I can sit there and talk to them, and they're going to get it because police are their own different animals, you
Right.
know, and EMTs and paramedics, you're your own different animals. So to speak to somebody who is not only a licensed therapist but also a peer, it would change the world for them.
Well, it would be a safe space for us. And I tell everybody it's garage talk for us. We need garage talk. We don't need to go to some set place where there's a couch and we just need garage talk, and we need to be safe.
We would go to church. You know
Yeah.
what church is, right?
Yeah.
We would go to church in the back parking lot.
Well,
Choir
Choir
practice.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we would do.
But without the alcohol now.
Yeah, well, that's something that the police are still involved with.
Yeah.
They're still working on that part.
So you've been doing this, and you've rose from the CPR class, then EMTB, and
Yep.
now EMTA, is it?
It's EMTP.
EMTP?
Yeah.
Okay. So you rose through those ranks, and I'm sure you've seen some pretty wicked stuff. How many things have shoved up people's asses? Because that million to one, Doc, million to one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
A peanut butter jar is the largest one I've seen. That's not going to
Karen Rosado had a fire poker. That was
Yeah.
her story. A fire poker. Like,
Yeah.
who thinks that's a good thing? To maybe some pepperoni.
Yeah, maybe some type of sausage.
But in all honesty, I've been to a couple calls. It's like, oh, I slipped in the shower. I'm like, no, dude,
Come
you didn't
on,
slip in the
man.
shower. And they're the funniest calls.
They are. Well, sometimes I just look at people and I just kind of tilt my head and I just say, do you guys, I mean, maybe when I was younger, I would laugh, but now I don't laugh anymore. Now I just kind of like look at them, tilt my head and say, okay, can you guys all leave the room? I think my jalapeno story is my best one, where a man cut off the tip of a jalapeno and felt the need to relieve himself inside of it. So
Wow.
that was, I think, my wildest,
That's
one
pretty
of my
good.
wildest.
Oh, well, okay. Okay, well, I know what I'm
So-
doing when I get home.
That's a shout out to Rebecca Taylor because she was on that job with me.
Wow.
All right.
But you've seen some horrible stuff. What's the area that you cover?
Well, right now I currently work for Atlantic Mobile Health, and they're a very large paramedic EMT company. They work for Atlantic Health Systems, and they're all over. They're Essex, Morris, Union, and Passaic counties.
All northern New Jersey.
Yeah, all northern New Jersey. Yeah, above here.
So a normal day may start off with somebody having a heart attack.
Yeah, I mean we go to the sickest of the sick, the worst of the worst, because we're advanced life support. Ambulances that people see in New Jersey are basic life support. So they're the bumps, the bruises, the broken ankles. And then when you see the smaller catch vehicles, those are the ALS trucks that are going to the strokes and the heart attacks and the traumas.
So where's the criteria lie in order for ALS to be called out? ALS is advanced life support, BLS is basic life support. But what's the criteria for having those folks being called
It's depending on the call takers and the dispatchers, but it's a level where it has to be advanced. So it has to be a cardiac problem with your heart, respiratory problem where your breathing problem, or some traumatic event that requires medicine, IVs, and skills where we can cut into your chest and do things like that, cut into your neck.
You used to be the only ones with Narcan, right?
Correct.
But now everybody has it.
Yes.
I worked in an era before Narcan, so I have no benchmark on this stuff.
The trauma calls,
Not good.
Trauma calls aren't good. I mean, some memories, you probably have them as well. Suicides, I mean,
We have
vehicular stuff, burning. I mean, fire is pretty ruthless.
I think, and I don't mean this insulting to either one of you, but in this business, when you get to be this age, we don't celebrate anybody's, and I'm not saying we're celebrating, but I think about all those calls, and I think about, everybody says to me, what's your worst call? What's your worst call? I'll talk about the funny ones, but the bad ones, like, I just won't celebrate anybody's worst day.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of new medic students do that. They come in, or EMT students, and they go, what's the worst call you've ever had? And when you get to be a veteran, it's just like, I don't celebrate people's worst day.
But it still has an effect on you.
Oh, it does. It's an awful
The hard part
thing
I
that you
see,
carry.
because you see it so often. You see it repetitively. Gunshot wounds, stabbings, suicides, all these things. The problem is you've seen it so often that you become desensitized to it, because you got to shut it down and go to the next call, right? You bring them to the hospital, you deliver them.
It's compartmentalism.
Yeah, you compartmentalize it, where you become very jaded. A lot of people, I'm not saying this about you, but a lot of people become very jaded, where you start to just look for differences. Okay, after your 50th suicide call, it's like, wow, look at that. I can see the teeth through his top of his head. And
You have to.
and you start looking, wow, they look nipple rings, stuff like crazy stuff like that. I know that sounds very harsh and very cold-hearted, but that little difference will just give you an ounce of humanity, because over enough period of time seeing all these horrible things, I would imagine it's easy to lose your humanity. Most cops get there.
It's very easy, and not only that, but the humor that we have.
Awful.
If there were people around that could hear the humor,
Yeah.
But that's our therapy. Like, that's what I mean about the garage talk, is you have to come back, and you have to spill that. I mean, who can see that? I can't imagine being military and having to see the horrors of military, but then again, we see the horrors of life every day for such an extended period of time.
In many ways, you have it worse than military. And this is not a dig against military. When you sign up for the military and you're getting deployed to a foreign country to fight, you kind of know what you're doing. You kind of know what you're getting into, where they're there, and that's their job. You didn't sign up for this to deal with the blood and the guts and the gore.
Thank you for saying that.
What's that?
You didn't sign up for this.
You didn't sign up for all of this nastiness. You signed up to help people. You said it very, very clearly in the beginning. This is the byproduct, and this is things that you have to do. You're there. You're seeing things. I remember one particular morning. I was working midnights, and it was about 5 o'clock in the morning. And it speaks. I know this. Oh God, how am I do this? How am I going to do this without sounding so cold and heartless?
Just say it.
I went to one call where I'm looking at a pair of 95-year-old boobs, okay? And right after that, it was one of those hot medical calls. I'm looking at an 85-year-old pair of balls. And you're like, wow, oh, okay, this is that kind of day, because it comes in waves. And you have to be prepared for that stuff. But so the problem is, I know in the police world, and I want to see if this is like this in the paramedic world, is you shut down those emotions, you go from one call to the next call, and you're able to, like you said, compartmentalize it. Now, the problem is you do it so often, a lot of us tend to do that at home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the healthiest of things, because we try to protect our partners from what we've seen. Again, your partner didn't sign up for this. Well, your ex-partner kind of did, but not to this extent.
No, but that was, I think, part of what kept our marriage together for so long was that we did understand the job and we could vent to each other. But then the job started to become an issue. And then part of I think, going back to the beginning of the show, what I learned, I also think that you have to love yourself. And a lot of people go in this business because they think they're going to help other people because they don't love themselves. And that's what I think this job did to both my ex and I, was we didn't love ourselves enough, and we loved everybody else too much.
Well, so a lot of it relates to this show. Is I have this feeling that if I save enough people, maybe I can save myself.
Yeah.
And I get that attitude, but it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It's still a thought in my head. Like it's still at the forefront of my head when I speak to somebody or if somebody reaches out to me on social media. And I'll always give them my time. I always give them that proverbial 8 minutes that I talk about, because I believe everybody can get over their sticky spots if you just give them 8 minutes of your time. And how did that start? How did the job, other than that, can you give me an example of how the job started to drive a wedge between you and your ex-husband?
I mean, you know him. I can't say enough about him. Chris is a great guy. He really is. And today we're amazing friends. Thankfully, we've been through a lot together, but we're both in better places for it. When you dedicate your life and your passion to something, and you think you're going to get something back, I think that's what happened. Is he sunk a lot into the job. He loves that department, and rightly so. Chris is a community-oriented person. And so he really gave of himself, and I gave of myself, and we didn't get anything back because we didn't invest in each other. And that's where I think the job doesn't allow people like us to invest in each other, because it just wants more from you, more.
You're only as good as your last day.
Exactly. And that police department and my job, the paramedic job, they just want more from you. Come do an extra 4 hours. Come do a 24-hour shift. Just 3 more hours. Just stay an extra half hour. And it's just that takes from you. And you think you have to do it because the more you serve, the better you are. And then you forget to come home and serve your partner.
Now, you had said something before. We were talking about the health of the responders that we see.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen it firsthand, but that sort of comfort zone, do you see that's where the vices kind of creep in, whether it's, food, alcohol, drugs?
Well, it's fast. And plus, we have 2 minutes to get our wheels rolling.
Yeah.
So when you sit down, you don't get a hot meal. You don't eat anything hot when you're a paramedic or an EMT. That's why you see them all eating so fast. That's why fast food is so, prominent in our business, because we have 2 minutes to get in the truck to roll.
But then the soothing, I think, maybe,
So then it's like
drugs, alcohol, maybe.
You just want to feel good.
Yeah.
Because of everything that you've seen was so bad.
Yeah.
That you just want something good. And so that dopamine release, you need it.
You did have a fortunate thing in having a partner who actually did understand. What my big mistake with my wife was always trying to shield her for that, knowing that, again, she didn't take this job. And always trying to shield her from that. When there was a better way to do it, for me, it's to say, hey, listen, I had a rough one today. Give me a little bit of time. And then you give him the Reader's Digest version. You're like, hey, this kid that died kind of, wasn't good. But I didn't do that at all. It was, how's your day? Fine. It's good. It's another day. It's another shift. That was it. There was one, I came home and it was an early afternoon thing. Kid got locked in a toy box and died. And I remember coming home like, I can't tell her this. This is awful. Like, when your spouse asks you, how was your day? Well, what do you want to know? You want to know the color of it was like a turquoise, color of the kid. That's about right. So in a lot of ways, you were very fortunate with that, but I can see how it would drive a wedge in between you.
Your wife's not in police, fire, or EMS. She doesn't.
No. My wife's a personal trainer.
No, you're smart.
She takes care of other people.
Yeah.
She takes
Smart.
care of. Yeah. Well, listen, I don't want somebody to blow up. That's why I got to keep her in shape.
You're smart.
And I shielded her. It wasn't the right thing to do. Now, how did it affect your relationships? Because police only hang around with police. Is that the same thing with paramedics?
We do. We all hang out together. And it depends, I think, a lot on where you work. There's a lot of little cliquey stuff going on. So, Atlantic medics hang out with Atlantic medics, and Valley medics hang out with Valley, and St. Joe's with St. Joe's. But we're all friendly. We all have a big community of people, and we're all, we don't compete against each other. It's not like that in our business.
See, I'm picturing like the Anchorman battle royal between all the different news teams. That's what I'm picturing.
No,
somebody's throwing a trident at one of the other NICUs, and
sometimes we argue about who's going to take what job because we're tired.
Oh, we do that too.
But
Yeah, we do that too.
We don't really compete against each other.
Some of the most dangerous people that existed were not outside of headquarters. Some of them are inside. Do you see any of that infighting or administrators or?
Oh, if it was, I'll tell you what, making the step to administration,
Yeah.
that's an eye opener. That's an eye opener. When you're just a staff person, you think you know everything, and then all of a sudden you step over that line, and it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
It's a whole different
Now all
world.
of a sudden you're dealing with 50 personalities.
Yeah, and you got to watch what you say.
Oh well. Yeah.
You got to watch what you say.
I wouldn't have lasted too long in that situation. So the one thing I learned with police, and I didn't learn it until probably year 10, where I stopped hanging out with the group of cops because it wasn't healthy. I knew it wasn't healthy. You know, it's a bunch of, especially with guys, it's a bunch of one-upsmanship, and you know, and I like the fact that you said that you personally don't celebrate anybody's worst day. We'll do that. We'll fight for these trophies. Like, you know, what kind of trophy are you looking for? Oh, I had this job. Oh yeah, well I had this job, and then and it was added on this, and this, and it's just a bad way to live your life.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you the funny ones, but the ones that are bad, I mean, I'm just thankful that the really, really bad ones that I've been on, I've bonded with those partners in a way that will never change, you know, and it's those people, you know, that I can still think about, you know, calls that I've been on with Maggie Scarpa and Mike Fajardo and John Gorell, where, you know, you experience this human tragedy with this person next to you who's just your coworker, but now there's something different.
Yeah, you share, you chew dirt with each other.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So I got to hear about some of these funny ones. I got to hear about them.
Well, I mean, you know, you have the jalapeno, I think, is the topper, but you have, I mean, do you remember the one in Montclair with on Bloomfield Avenue, the sex guy?
You got to
When we
narrow it down a little
pronounced
bit more than.
He was chained to the
The
bed.
guy on 3rd Street.
Oh yeah.
He was chained to the bed.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I do recall that one. You could probably tell it better than I can, though.
He was chained to the bed.
He had a lot of leather on, and, you know, it was one of those, we're not sure how he came to.
There were finger grooves and lubricant.
On Bloomfield Avenue?
Yeah, right
right
around.
on the Verona border there.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a different Bloomfield Avenue.
Yeah.
No,
I think my favorite is the Mountainside Hospital guy who would.
You have
said
to
before,
elaborate. You have to elaborate on these stories. So chained to the bed.
that was yeah.
That guy was full of leather, and he had a ball gag in his mouth, and
That was what I call commitment.
and the woman standing in the corner was just like, I don't know what happened. And
Yeah,
so, you know,
that's one.
that was a long time ago.
It sure was.
The guy with the bottle, though, he was recurring, and he would just lubricate that bottle and go right up his rear end and go to the hospital, and they would surgically take them out and give them back to him if they didn't break.
Didn't break.
And then he'd put them on the
Yeah.
wall, and so every time we went to the house, you'd see the bottles up on the wall of the ones that he'd shove up there, and they'd have to take out.
Oh my God.
If you
Yeah.
think of the diameter of like your standard like Skippy peanut butter
Yeah.
jar,
And he got some pretty big bottles. He put a 40 up there.
a 40 ounce.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, to me, that's commitment.
Yeah.
So,
And then we had the dog liquor one where the woman would take, and this is the last one I'm going to tell you, she would take peanut butter and she put peanut butter on her inner thighs and then call her dog. So,
well, that's just
And then what
that's just
happened?
great use of resources right there. That's all that is.
Necessity is the mother.
but she had to go to the hospital because she
invention.
was full of abscesses all between from
'Cause,
the
yeah,
dog. Like,
a dog's tongue is very rough. That's the way it's designed.
and repeated.
am I blushing yet?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anybody that's listening on the audio, they got to see the video.
I mean, just imagine, somebody having to tell you that. And then you having to interview that person. Well, how did that happen? Well, what do you mean? Well, how did that?
Well, it's
Get
not,
in there.
So it's never the truth the first time they tell
No.
it.
No.
No, you have to draw the truth out of them. So you have to become like this little detective. Like, yeah, something don't sound right.
Can I tell you my nickname?
Sure.
Everybody calls me Wonder Woman because I have a lasso. I can see through anybody's bullshit.
I thought you had an invisible jet.
No, I can see through anybody's bullshit.
But you, meanwhile, the dog's over in the corner smoking a cigarette. You know, that's a dead giveaway. But you've been in this field for so long. How has the field changed from the time you started until now? I
Ugh.
mean, obviously you're in administration now, so it's different.
This is an hour show, Kevin. How has it changed? Oh my gosh. In a nutshell, they've added so much to our profession, to our scope of practice, that what I teach today is light years of what I learned when I went to medic school.
How do you see the different generational things? Because now you've been around
They can't.
long.
They don't know how to learn because it's experiential learning. We have time and grade.
Yeah.
They get all the information at once. They don't get pieces of information, so they don't have the time to put it in their executive function to understand muscle memory. So they get everything all at once, but they don't get any experience with it.
So it's book
And they
experience
can't learn.
versus life experience.
It's just cookie cutter.
So-
It's just recipe cutting.
When I went through EMT training, I thought it was okay, and you could tell in class who was going to do well because most of the people in the class, I was already a cop, hadn't experienced a lot of the stuff. They've never done CPR. They've never, they've never seen somebody blow their head off. They've never seen any of that stuff. But the one thing I wouldn't do is they have that dummy that gives birth, the birthing doll. I wouldn't go near it. And they're like, why won't you go near it? And I'm like, because one of you guys got freaky with that thing and I'm not touching it.
Ours is mechanical. We have a 3G mannequin that actually delivers the baby out. All the birth comes out, everything. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, our mannequins are like $80,000-$90,000.
Yeah, you don't want me in a...
They're
I
amazing.
was in the delivery room. You don't want me in the delivery room because I make the worst jokes. My wife's in labor and I look over her and I said, you want me to go tell the father? Yeah.
That's the greatest call, to be honest with you.
I always wanted a stork pen. Like, I always wanted that. It's like one of the awards until the first one came and it wasn't that wonderful moment because it happened to be a drug user that really didn't care about their child. And that was a Disneyland that had a hurricane go through it.
The one I had, she says, I think I had a miscarriage. I think I had a miscarriage. And I go over there and I look at it and I'm like, no, you didn't have a miscarriage. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's not supposed to be brown and mushy.
Different orifice.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be brown and mushy.
Only one way to say wrong hole.
She shit her pants and she thought she miscarried. But, listen, while she was embarrassed, she was overly happy.
Sure.
And that's kind of what you want to do is you want to give people a little bit of comfort because you've seen so much end of life. And the one thing that I learned about seeing people at their end of their life is just give them a little bit of peace, give them a little bit of comfort because they don't know what's going on. They don't know if this is it. Yeah.
They need dignity.
Well, dignity is a relative term. I will be honest with everybody. Seeing as much end of life as I've seen, there is very little dignity. There is no John Wayne scenes where they have very stoic last words. It's usually
80% on the toilet.
Yep, on the toilet. They go to the bathroom in their pants. They're naked with a bunch of people standing over top of them. It is the most indignant thing that you could possibly see.
Us giving them dignity.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in EMS need to give the dying a little bit more dignity.
First thing they teach you in any type of medical class is they may be dead, but they can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's another sect of emergency medicine or the emergency responders that I don't think they were there that day because I've heard it.
Yeah.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
But how?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were we
Well, I
gonna
was going to say, you kind of talk about not celebrating these like traumatic things and the worst thing. Listen, you come off like Teflon, right? Like, I mean, I can tell you by your appearance and just demeanor that like it doesn't affect you.
Oh, it does.
But we know, like, when you look into someone's eyes, they have that look. And even if you don't do it
What
by
do I
your
say?
body language, you're saying something very insulting to me. I can read it. But when you see that look, like, listen, some of these things, even though you carry yourself like a soldier, there's got to be something. I would say one of the things you overlooked was the death notification. So then there's the trauma of the death. And
There's no
I've
training
done that.
for that. Yeah, there's no training for that. We don't get any specialized training for death notification. I mean, you guys have a different death notification,
Yeah.
but a lot of times, like you said, it's like a paramedic shows up and a cop's like, oh, thank God you're here.
Oh yeah.
And then we go into therapy mode or we go into, religious mode or we go into,
Well, I turn into a blackjack dealer. I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, listen. So the other part of that is where it's always on the third floor. It's always 100 degrees up
down
there.
the end of the hall.
You're sweating and you're soaked and you're covered in goo and all sorts of different bodily fluids. It's horrible.
Tail end of a double shift.
But here's the thing. While you've seen so much death, while you've seen so much horror, while you've seen so much end of life, suicide, gunshots, stabbings, I guarantee you there are some times when you've had some wins. Because if you didn't have wins, you wouldn't have stayed.
This job has afforded me the ability to read people like nothing else. I think I could probably do any job, to be honest with you. I could walk into anywhere and do anything. I can talk to anybody. And I've met some really awesome people. And I feel like I understand people more because of this job. Now, I'm not rich because of it. I can tell you that financially they need to really help paramedics. But it's an amazing job teaches you just about life.
Well, what about your wins inside the field? Your wins out in the field? You're bringing people back to life. You're getting them emergency medical care that they need in order to get them to a hospital to stitch them up.
I think what we do is we take people to the right facility. We don't just take people to any hospital, and what we do on the street is bring the emergency room to them. So this job has evolved where we can bring so much of the emergency room to your house and start your treatment there, which I don't think a lot of people realize is we really are an extension of an emergency room physician. Just short of me sticking my hand in your chest, there's not much that I can't do to you that a doctor can't do. So it's really great in terms of that.
By the way, I've seen that in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It doesn't look fun.
Doesn't work out well.
Yeah.
And a shout out to my student. She did it last week at St. Joe's. They had to crack somebody's chest open, unfortunately. But it's an experience. I can't tell you that you just can't sign up for that. I mean, that just has to happen, and you have to be there and in the moment, and it's an amazing experience.
Because you're seeing things that the human eyes aren't supposed to see.
No,
Like,
agreed.
Going into one of the eye-opening things about going into my first autopsy was to see what human fat looks like out in the open air.
Yeah.
Right? You don't get to see that stuff every day,
No.
or see what a human heart looks like, or a liver, or a stomach, or the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland. If you can start looking at that like I was looking at like a science experiment, take away their humanity, that the fact that they hadn't been a person, because that's how you got to deal with that stuff. But there are some times that I've been out, and we brought somebody back to life. And all of a sudden you feel like this true superhero you are, because you've had enough defeats, right? You've had enough defeats. Have you ever had a patient and had a win and then revisited that patient? Because this is what people don't understand about you guys is you treat and usually you never see him again.
Oh, yeah. There was a guy in Montclair that we treated that lost his legs. Remember that guy? We used to go and see him all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a car accident, I believe, up on Bradford. And he he was underneath the car.
Yep.
And lost both of his legs.
For sure.
And I want to say Glenridge Avenue, maybe. But we used to go visit him all the time after that. He was so grateful. There are people that I do go and see that I've seen. I just went to go visit a crazy story, if you just have like a minute. I was working 2 weeks ago and in the Morristown area, met a woman on a job. She was, having a medical emergency. And lo and behold, I come to find out that I dated her son when I was 15 years old. I mean,
he didn't go to Fairleigh Dickinson,
how many
did he?
years
Please
later?
please tell me he didn't go to Fairleigh
No,
Dickinson.
we
If the
both-
last name is Donaldson, I'm leaving. I'm going home.
We both had surgery by the same doctor. And we were in rehab together. I had my knees reconstructed. And we just happened to, had our knees operated on at the same time. And then here I am, 35 years later, taking care of his mom, which was crazy. It's hard, I think, to go and connect with people. Paramedics don't get that ability to go and visit their patients.
Right.
They just don't. They have to let go because there's so much that you carry on. And I tell everybody it's like a backpack. And the more you put in that backpack, it weighs you down. So I think over time, the wins like you're talking about, we don't do those wins because I think maybe we're afraid. It hurts almost too much. I don't know if that makes sense, but...
So the way I put it, I say the same thing that you just said, but I put it a little differently. So police will see horrors and we'll put piece of armor on, like your first dead child. Well, that hurts really bad, and we don't want to be hurt anymore, so we'll stick a piece of armor on us. And then over a 20-year career, you're so heavily laden and weighted down that you got to find a way to empty it and take some armor off and be a human being, because when you finally do take that backpack off or take the armor off, you'll be like, whoa. And especially when you've been holding it for 25 years.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much weight you've been able to bear over your lifetime until you start dropping it. So how do you drop that weight?
Oh my God, I stay in my purple bed. I love my friggin' purple bed.
I got a purple pillow. I got a purple pillow.
Oh, it's the best. I love my bed.
Yeah.
I do. I think in my life right now, like I was telling you, I'm 52 and I'm really tired. I get home at the end of the day, I just have nothing left. After teaching and after giving of yourself on that paramedic truck, I have nothing left. And I look at my poor daughter, and she comes home after a whole day at school, and she's like, "Hi, Mom." And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. So there's a void, right?
Oh, it's just, I'm exhausted.
Well, there's a void of support, right?
think-
Like we were talking spiritual as well as, mental, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that might have contributed partly to the marriage, no?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just, I just get so tired. And I think what you're saying, now it's just the exhaustion. Now that backpack's like wanting to come off after 25 years, and I'm just tired.
Well, when it does come off, and I know this from firsthand experience, when it does come off, the world starts all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you grateful for all the things that you've had a 25-year education on the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
So some people may look at that saying, well, how am I supposed to appreciate anything good in the world? I see only bad things in the world, because there is one inevitability. If there is bad, that means there has to be good.
Mm.
Okay? By default, it has to be good. There's always a back to the front. So what are some of the good things that you're looking forward to? We're all in the back nine now.
I'm really looking to transition out of this career. I love my current job where I teach. I love Bergen Community College. I think that transitioning from being on the street full time to educating.
Is that the one in Mawa?
No, we're actually at Bergen Community. It's in Paramus.
Okay.
But our satellite is in Lyndhurst. We're right across from Medieval Times. Our campus is right down the street, and we have a full functioning sim lab there. We have an emergency room. We have an ambulance. I love teaching. It's probably one of my biggest passions, is to just give of what I've learned, because you can't put a price on what you've learned over 25 years. And trying to teach this younger generation what I've learned, I think that's sort of my ending chapter. And then, like you said about death, nobody knows death better than me. Well, I'm sure there's people out there, but I feel like it's something for me that I can use this career. And I'd like to look into end-of-life practitioner. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's like a...
Yeah, that's a wicked job. That's
like one sorrow for another. There's got to be some reward for you personally.
But seeing so much death, how's that change your view of death?
I'm not afraid anymore. I was very afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. I think it's just a natural process, and now I know I'm just not afraid. I don't know. It's different. It's a warm feeling.
Well,
really.
There's going to be a time when all those paramedics or EMTs are standing over top of you, and maybe, just maybe, it's some of your students like, oh my God, I know this person. She taught me. Meanwhile, everything's, open, the robe's open, and you're the person that 5 minutes after they get like,
they're going to make fun.
She had a Thug Life tattoo on her stomach.
They're going to be like, wow, look at that tattoo there. Wow, look at that one there. Wow, look at that one there.
And she taught us. How bad is that?
We never knew.
So we are coming to the end of this thing here, and where can our audience find you? You said you're no social media guru, but we're going to change that.
I know. I have to get more on social media. I do have a LinkedIn profile. I do have an Instagram profile.
Do you want to give them out? Or do
my
you want to just have them guess?
is Nooch425.
Nooch?
Yeah, Nooch425. That's my nickname in my family. My family used to call me Stefanooch.
Stefanucci.
So I'm Nooch 425.
Not Italian at all.
No, not at all. Zero.
No, you should see what this Italian brought us for as a gift up here.
Abundanza.
It's every deli meat known to man, and
Yeah.
I think the best place I mean, I'm on Facebook.
you're
but
taking the ball gag though, right?
Yeah, I have dibs.
Okay.
It
I
had
got
my
you a
name on it.
shiny one.
It had my name on it for some reason. I feel that was planned.
Engraved.
Probably the best place anybody can find me is at Bergen, because that's where I live, really. Bergen community is my life.
They have a website, I'm assuming?
We do. It's www.bergen.edu/paramedic.
Oh, okay.
And if you type that in, you'll see myself, our director, Dr. Joanne Piccinini, and you can click on everything there and find out what we're all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are coming to the end of this thing here. You spent 25 years in this, some would say horrible field, but also rewarding at the same time.
Very rewarding.
You're seeing both sides of the spectrum, and you've seen all this stuff throughout your career that's really hit you hard. You know, it might have been even the cause of a marriage, or, you know, to the detriment of your relationships outside of the job. But that suffering had to teach you something. Because if suffering doesn't teach you anything, then you just spent 25 years. I would have to say it's a waste. So I know it's taught you something. What do you think the suffering of being a paramedic has taught you?
Ownership, I guess. Own what I've done wrong, own what I've done right, which I'm trying to do. I have made some good decisions in my life. My daughter's amazing, so I think I'm a pretty good mom. But ownership, and just really learning now that I really do need to love myself more, and resiliency.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Tom, you got any closing statements?
No, I would say that it's a respectable career, and you know, I've seen the woman that sits across on this table do some very, very hard things and some very selfless things, even on a personal level, doing things that were very unpopular to support people in need. One of them being me, and showing up when it was not a popular decision to do so, and did it anyway. Very brave woman.
It's what cops used to get involved with police work a long time ago. We knew we were never going to be rich. We knew we were going to be okay. But we also knew we were going to have a purpose and be fulfilled. And I think you guys are still there. The pay scale for police is gotten much higher, so you're getting a little bit different clientele in there, or a little different workforce in there. And I think one day you're going to get there as well. Your profession is going to get there well, because they certainly deserve it.
Yeah.
You know,
We need representation. We really do. We need the hospitals and the doctors to come up and say, hey, these paramedics, they need us. And the hospitals need us. They really do.
Yes, they do. Yes, they can't do their job without you. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much. This was really great.
I
Thank
appreciate you coming in, and I can't wait to see you. I actually want to see you in action. Not that I'm going to be a paramedic.
Oh, we would love to have you guys come to Bergen. We have a full simulation lab. That would be a great time.
as long as you don't have a simulator or somebody throwing up, because as soon as somebody throws up, I'm going.
Kevin's got to deliver the baby.
No, I ain't touching it. I'm gonna be there like Jerry Seinfeld with. I'm like,
I just want to say hi to my daughter, Katie.
Sure,
Hi, Katie.
Katie, listen, your mom did great tonight.
She sure did.
But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And that's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Paramedic with Stephanie Niemiec. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Emergency medical personnel are truly angels. Gaining trust happens at the first meeting. You take some jobs home with you, but most importantly, you got to own it. Because if you own it, you can get past it. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Clapper, Instagram, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. Follow Tom at The Tom Flynn. And, of course, follow The Suffering Podcast. And we will see you on the next episode.